Welcome back, everyone. I am Cas Piancey. I'm joined as usual by my partner in crime, Mr. Bennett Tomlin. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you, Cas?
I'm annoyed, and that's usually when we end up talking, is when I just get pissed off and annoyed by something enough that we have to record about it. And today we're going to be discussing DJT token, Donald J. Trump token, which a few days ago, it's a Solana-based meme coin that was started a few days ago and reported on by I'm going to call them a blog. I guess they like to pretend they're news, but a blog called Pirate Wires that is, I believe, Peter Thiel funded. It's at least operated by one of the vice presidents, CMO of the Founders Fund, which is Peter Thiel's VC. So they reported that this token had been created and that Barron Trump, who is Trump's youngest son, just turned 18 a few months ago, that he was the one behind it. And since then, it's been just a complete clusterfuck of nonsense, including the Pirate Wires reporting, air quotes there for anyone listening and not watching. Do you have anything you want to say before I continue to rant here?
I think you should take this. You should just go into this official Trump token.
Yeah, so Pirate Wires reported it as the official Trump token, per conversations. That's what they said. It's since been, I think, Martin Shkreli has since stated that he got Barron Trump in touch with the Pirate Wires guys. And I think Michael Solana, the one at Pirate Wires, has confirmed as much. Why am I bringing up Martin Shkreli? Well, it turns out that this coin was created more or less. So this is Martin Shkreli's story. I'll go ahead and just lead with that, even though after Pirate Wires reported this, Martin Shkreli distanced himself, did say that it was absolutely real. He knew it was real, said he wasn't necessarily involved, but that he knew that it was definitely real. Slowly that began to devolve, and he finally owned up to the idea that, yeah, okay, I admit it. I was one of 3 people involved in this. Now, those 3 people, according to Martin Shkreli, are Martin Shkreli. But by the way, Bennett, can you just, if anyone, I assume everyone knows who Martin Shkreli is. Can you just tell anyone who's unfamiliar with him, like, what he's known for, I guess?
He's a financial criminal and pharma bro who jacked up the prices of some life-saving medications and eventually went to prison related to, I think, misstatements surrounding like the financials of his firm after he jacked up the prices of those life-saving medications. He's also a really big Wu-Tang Clan fan.
At least he was. I don't know if he is anymore. I know they've also kind of disowned him. The reason Bennett brings that up is because Martin Shkreli famously purchased Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, which was a one-of-one album by the Wu-Tang Clan that sold for like $1.5 million or something. A lot of, I believe I've seen quotes from, I think it was Method Man, who just simply hated the idea from the very beginning. I think a lot of the members of Wu-Tang are pretty divided on the concept of the album even. But basically it was supposed to go unreleased for until like 2088 or something like that. 2188. I don't even remember how long it is, but supposed to not get released. Martin Shkreli has already admitted that he gave out copies to people and that he still has a copy. I don't actually know the rules and regulations regarding that, and if non-commercial distribution is okay. That it might be. I actually have no idea, but that's besides the point. We're here to talk about this token. So the reason Martin Shkreli is involved apparently is because this is according to Martin Shkreli. There's no other source for this because everybody involved has denied or not. That's incorrect. They haven't denied. They just haven't said anything about it. Nobody is talking, except for Martin Shkreli, who is talking all of the time. And what Martin claims is that he worked with, I'm not going to state the guy's name because he's 17 years old, but we'll just call him Cam. He worked with a guy named Cam, who was interning at his company. Cam is 17 years old. He is not yet an adult, so he's working with a 17-year-old minor if that miner's family, you know, guardians gave permission, said they wanted him to work with Martin Shkreli, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I'm not trying to paint a picture of anything other than taking financial advice from a convicted financial felon as a 17-year-old. Like, I don't think my parents would be very open to that when I was 17. I don't think most parents necessarily would be, but I don't know the backstory here, so I'm not going to pretend I do. But okay, so this 17-year-old was interning. This 17-year-old was good friends with Barron Trump, apparently, and reached out to Barron, and Barron said he wanted to start a meme coin because his brother, Donald Trump Jr., wanted to start a meme coin, and he wanted to do it first. So why not reach out to Martin Shkreli? I mean, probably...
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably hundreds, if not thousands of people who would be better to discuss this with, considering Martin Shkreli's expertise is not involved in cryptocurrency ever. Like, I don't think anyone has ever claimed that. Can you just talk about Martin Shkreli Inu? Do you remember that?
Was that what his earlier project that got hacked after he downloaded a virus he thought was pornography?
That's right. That's right. That's the summary. Bennett just gave you the summary. Everyone thought that he had rugged his own project.
Which, I mean, did he ever hire like a forensic security auditing firm to come in and prove that it wasn't a self-rug pretending to be something else?
So here's something I will say about this, which I think is kind of interesting, is that ZachXBT got involved. If anyone's unfamiliar, we've had him on a previous episode of the show. He's widely known as like the cryptocurrency sleuth detective, the one who finds things out that people don't want to be found out. And he is involved in this story as well. We'll get there. But last time, Zach did show that it wasn't Martin Shkreli just draining his own project. He had, yes, been victim of a drainer, whether that was at the hands of downloading porn or not. I mean, I don't know why Martin would make that up. That just seems like it makes sense to me. So that's what happened with Martin's first cryptocurrency project. So why anyone would think, oh, that's who I'm gonna go to and get them to help me with this. I don't know. I don't fully understand that, but okay. I'm gonna presume that this is all, I don't know. No one knows. There's been no proof really shown, but yeah. So at some point, before Martin admits that he is a part of this project, Arkham Intelligence, which is a, how would you describe them, Bennett?
They are a blockchain intelligence firm. They do their best to label addresses and wallets as associated with certain entities and then track and highlight transactions between those entities.
I think they were widely disparaged when they first came out, if I recall correctly, largely because it seemed like a lot of former government individuals or the government itself was working with them. Well,
and people didn't like that you could get their token by doxing people's wallets. People were put off by that.
Right. So since then, they've kind of, I don't know, they haven't been, I'd say that they just haven't gotten grilled as much by the industry. I don't know if that's just because I'm in my own little bubble and I'm not paying enough attention, but it seems like they've kind of just...
I think it's because crypto Twitter has an attention span of about 48 hours on the long end, and so they forgot.
Yeah, fair enough. But so basically this intelligence agent, like an intelligence company, offered a bounty to prove who the wallets that started this token belong to, which ZachXBT, who we were just talking about, immediately said, oh, okay, I'll apply for that. I have on-chain data and I have screenshots where Martin is talking to like Andrew Tate and Martin is talking to these other influencers and KOLs and saying like, oh, you got to get in on this. I just started this coin. It's officially the Trump token. He applied for that. As soon as Zach applied for that, Martin kind of freaked out, reached out to Zach, said, you know, please, you don't need to share this, but I'm the one involved, blah, 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 blah. And then he did a spaces and admitted that he was involved. Finally, after a couple days of trying to pretend that he wasn't the one behind it. But anyway, so the story goes now, here we and for what it's worth, Zach did get the bounty. He got $150,000 from Arkham Intelligence. Martin tried to get it afterwards, really wanted that 50K. But basically, the reason this became such a big deal was because Shkreli tried to make bets with everybody about the legitimacy of this coin. He tried to bet somebody who goes by the handle Gigantic Rebirth, GCR as he's known, on Twitter. And he offered to bet Martin Shkreli $100 million that Donald Trump was not involved. However, Martin said that the terms of the agreement were actually whether or not any Trump family member was involved. Regardless, the bet never happened. Nobody's winning or losing any money. And ultimately, Barron Trump has not come forward and said anything about this coin. Donald Trump hasn't said anything about this coin. The Trump campaign has said they're definitely not involved. They say they have nothing to do with it. Melania, like anyone who Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, none of these people are talking about it. Martin Shkreli name dropped a bunch of other influencers as well. He said he worked with Ansem on this coin. Ansem is a big Solana influencer who's been onboarding a bunch of kind of D-list celebrities lately, including, I think he reached out to Soulja Boy, Rich the Kid, Iggy Azalea.
That's what Soulja Boy needs, another SEC settlement.
I feel like the SEC should just hire him.
I feel like the SEC just needs to start they take his fine for the second time and they double it, and they take his fine for the third time and they triple it, and his fines should be like on an exponential curve at this point.
Well, that's why I'm saying hire the guy. Say, listen, Soulja Boy, just whatever you want to invest in, just go for it, dude. And basically, he would just lead them to every single scam there.
Can we see your weekly portfolio, Soulja? Yeah. Oh, well, unfortunately, all those firms got target letters this week.
So I think we've almost covered all of this. It's still up in the air about like how much the Trump family is going to actually claim that they're a part of this. It does seem like Barron Trump was involved. Yeah, 0. That's what I'm thinking too. And Martin Shkreli states that Barron Trump has the private keys so that nothing can, like, if anything does happen to it, it's at the hands of Barron Trump, apparently, and no one else can do anything. So for now, the coin is essentially dead, right? Like this, even if they wanted to add some sort of use case, which you can't do because as soon as you start adding use cases, it becomes a security and it's unregistered and there's all these other issues. So I don't know what the plan was for this coin ever to begin with. But it certainly seems like for now, it's dead in the water.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the people involved are not the best planners.
Yeah.
None of the people involved are serious thinkers who are like, how can we do this in a way that's definitely legal, definitely compliant, and definitely won't blow up into a messy piece of shit that sends at least one of us back to jail?
Numerous times, Martin Shkreli stated that he, in the spaces that he was doing, he numerous times stated that he had told a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old that if their lawyers tell them not to do it, mention SEC v. Ripple, ask them what statutes, and ask them all these questions about like why they're not allowed to do this or why these lawyers think they should not be allowed to do it. More or less giving them financial and legal advice and saying like, ask this, do this, don't listen to them. They're not trying to give you money or make you money or do the right thing. They just want to make money from you by being your lawyer. Okay. I mean, it's pretty wild to give people that young financial and legal advice, but to each their own. And if their guardians were fine with it, I have nothing I can possibly say about it.
Also, sorry, I need to go back to the supposed genesis of this token, which is that Martin claims Barron decided he wanted to launch a token to get out in front of his brother who wanted to launch a token. And like, neither of them should be launching a token. They're both asking for like immediate investigations and problems from doing that. Any connection to their father is going to make those investigations that much worse and that much more likely to be successful. And so, like, the idea that Donald Trump Jr. was planning a token, and so Barron decided to get ahead of it first by launching a token using his father's initials with a convicted financial felon is, if true, an example of why we should perhaps have greater limits on what financial decisions 18-year-olds are allowed to make, because that's not sensible.
Shkreli constantly in these spaces talks about how when he was 17 and 18 years old, he was trading hundreds of millions of dollars worth of biotech stocks and was working with Jim Cramer and he's like, look how I turned out. And I just go like, do you not see the irony in saying, look how you turned out? Do you not see that you spent 7 years behind bars or whatever it was? Like,
so far.
Yeah, so far. Well, okay. So, and I think that brings us to our final point, being this really well written The Block article. And this was by Daniel Kuhn, who has just switched. He used to work for CoinDesk, and he's working for The Block now. I enjoy a lot of his pieces. And he wrote about all of this, and he asked a lawyer, Austin Campbell, about if there could possibly be legal consequences for all of this stuff. And basically, Campbell said, yes, there definitely could. There definitely could be. Now, it's fair to say that if Martin Shkreli has not misrepresented anything, and there's no way that this coin is a security, which I think isn't for sure yet. I don't think that's actually been decided as much as Shkreli pretends it is. Plus, Shkreli he's on supervised release. So under the terms of this supervised release, there's a lot of things he has to do that, like, for instance, to work with minors, he has to get written permission and turn it into his PO or whatever it's called. So there's a lot of possibilities here that he could very well be in trouble. Plus FEC violations. It's not just the SEC, which is the Securities Exchange Commission.
No one gets in trouble for FEC violations. That's smaller fry than SEC violations.
Talk to Ryan Salame about not getting in trouble for these FEC violations. Regardless, I do think there's a lot of things that could go awire here for Mr. Shkreli. I also think it's really odd that I don't know why people, maybe it is because it's the Trump family, but I don't know why anyone would look up to Martin Shkreli after what he did. He claims it's all lawfare, that he that he didn't deserve to do any time, that he was innocent of those charges, really. And
okay,
that,
Mike Milken.
He was, yeah. But he's just being as greedy as everybody else. It's a pretty classic, like, case of whataboutism, where it's like, well, I didn't, just because I'm doing this illegal thing, so is everyone else. Why aren't they getting tried for it? Which is just smart.
I guess they're smarter than you, Martin. I guess they're 5% smarter than you and didn't get caught. Sucks to be you.
I don't know if smart or manipulative or conscious of social cues, or I'm not sure what it would be, but there's something different. That's for sure. And I do think that everybody tends to agree that this has been a pretty slimy affair, regardless of the legality of it. Like, the idea of creating this coin for someone who is so young, and also it's clear that Martin Shkreli knows that this could affect Donald Trump, that this could affect the Trump family, this could affect a campaign, this could affect, like, depending on how the coin even goes, could affect Barron's future. I just think it's really slimy, that's all.
Martin loves attention, and I think he saw an opportunity, whatever was going on in the background here, he saw an opportunity to briefly get a lot of attention. And whatever part of his brain is still functional, hoped that there'd be some way to take that attention and turn it into value for himself. But initially, I think he just saw a chance to get attention.
I think that's going to do it. Hopefully there's not a lot of updates on this. I think it's pretty much played out the way everyone expected it to. And
it's not going to affect Cascoin, right?
Well, it can't affect Cascoin. I do want to say that obviously Ronald Reagan did endorse Cascoin. It was in private chats, and I don't want to leak any of those chats yet. I really don't want to do that to Ronald Reagan. I know that he hasn't denied the claims, but he also hasn't said, like, of course I endorse it out loud. But you got to trust me on this. Ronald Reagan, huge Cascoin supporter. If you believe in Reaganomics, then you should trust Cascoin.